You have been doing this wrong. Not wrong per se, if you have made it through the last 4 days of this series, where I explained how to talk to the machine, I explained how to give it data, how to feed it data rather, and I also explained how to give it this decision-making logic. But you are still doing one thing that is going to slow you down forever if we don't fix it today. And that is, you're still writing every prompt using your hand. Now you're sitting there trying to probably find the right or the perfect word. You are tweaking sentences, running these outputs every single time, hoping for the version that comes out at the end of the day to finally make the AI behave. This is something I have done in the past and I can relate to. And I will tell you, this is not a skill. It's just you having to spend more time on extra steps. And here's the shift that ends all that loop. You need to stop writing prompts and start using AI to write this prompt for you. Today, I'm going to show you a technique which I call meta prompts, where you use a high-end AI to generate the perfect instruction set for any tags or any bots you want to build. And this is how I've been able to use to scale from writing one prompt at a time to building entire systems where AI writes its own training manual. So in the next couple of minutes, you have this 4-part framework that is going to turn this rough idea you have in your head into this clean, structured prompt that works every single time. I'm going to show you a live demo where I will take this rough request I have and I'm going to give AI to write me a professional system instruction in under just 60 seconds or so. And finally, I'm also going to give you, when I need to build this, okay, like the previous time when I had to build this 15 prompts at once, because I needed to build this automation system. So I'm going to also give you that technique, and I call it like a prompt factory of sorts. If you are new here, my name is Jude, you can call me Nirvana, and for the last 4 years, I've been building AI systems for agencies and startups, including influences the clients and business owners that they work with as their AI marketing automation specialist. This is day 5 of the 5 layers of AI series, where in 60 days, we're going to cover the foundation layer, which is layer 1, to building autonomous system as well. So this is more like the final day of layer 1, and I can assume that after today, we're going to leave the chat window for good, and we'll start building real automations. So we can see that at the end of this video, you will never have to write any prompts from scratch again. And you're also going to know how to describe a goal in plain English, and you have AI to back you on writing a structured professional instruction set ready to drop into any tool, any bot, or any system that we build in later series. So this is more like a combination of day 1 to day 4 into something that works consistently. So with that, I can say this is a closing move to layer 1 that we've been building all this while. So let's get into it. So one more thing I'm going to mention is that while I'm showing you this, I noticed I've not been using this resource guide all this while, which has been very bad. I originally planned most of this resource guide for every single day making these videos so as to ensure that people are able to follow along. And also, right after watching this video, you're also able to go through it multiple times and you're able to read it and understand yourself, because I had to put it in a way where you can understand clearly on what I'm trying to explain. So that is just by the way. I'm going to include all these resources and everything. From now on, I'm going to use this also as an important part of the videos I make. And I am also going to be including this where I have the builds, the things I build together to make sure that whatever we are using here is interactive enough for every single person. So here's the line for today. The AI is better than writing prompts than you are. And it's not an insult. It is more like the truth. And once you get to accept that, you will notice that the speed and quality of prompts that you write and the output you get is going to go up at the same time. So let me just explain how that works. There's a reason your prompt falls short every single time, and that is even when you feel like you know this business like the back of your hand, for example. It's something I call this expert blindness, when you know something so well that you skip some steps when you explain it. So it is more of you forget to mention the obvious, and that's because you assume that whoever is listening to you, because this happens in conversations, this also happens also when we talk to AI, and that's because you think the listener understands the context of what you're trying to explain, so you leave a lot of gaps where you don't even see that you leave in gaps anymore, because to you those gaps don't exist, and that's because you understand what you are trying to put across. The AI you use doesn't have that problem, and that is because AI doesn't, as it knows things about your business. It has no emotional connection to whatever task you are trying to do. It doesn't have, all this, I'll call it like a mental shortcut, that is going to pull you off track from what you are working on. So when you give it, your rough idea, and you ask it to structure that idea into instructions, it's going to fill in the gap you even had no idea were there in the first place. So it is this as that I want you to cue. It's just that AI is less blind than you, if I'm putting it correctly. And that is what I'm going to explain here. That's how the reason behind why this whole technique I'm going to show you works very well. So let me show you how that works, and let me show you why this matters when you are building something very real. So a couple of months ago, I was building a complete marketing automation system for a B2B agency, and the system that I needed to build, it needed 15 different prompts. One was for this lead scraper, another one for email drafter, one was for qualification check, one for follow-up sequencer like that, and another one was for this CRM updater, and just 10 more builds behind that basically. And if I had to sit down and write down all these 15 prompts manually, I would have spent like a full week typing. I even remember I always mentioned it, to people I work with, that a couple of months back, over a year plus back, I remember that I had to sit down one time to write a specific prompt for over 2 days straight. And that was because I didn't know any better. And I can assume you are also in the same situation right now. So until those times, instead, I just walk through this same step that I'm going to show you now. And that is where I built the first meta prompt, where I feed it the company's brand voice. I feed it the company's brand voice, their target audience, their pricing structure, their tone of voice, just every single thing. I feed every single thing at once. Then I give the AI 15 short briefs. An example, I tell it, okay, you know what? Now I want you to write the prompt for the lead scraper. Like the example I give it here, we can assume I've given the AI every single thing, which is the meta prompt now. And I now tell it to give me one for a lead scraper. I tell it to give me one for an email drafter, or I tell it to give me one for a follow-up sequencer, something like that. And what I noticed that the whole 15 prompts that I needed, in under probably about 10 minutes of walking through this and checking it to confirm if this is actually nice, which it came out very well. About 10 minutes, I had all the instruction sets, every single thing that I needed for the whole system. And this is something that a couple of years back, we needed to take weeks before we could put everything together. Unlike now that it takes lesser time than the time it even takes to to drink a coffee or something. So it takes lesser time, and I believe that this is not like a productivity hack. To me, it's more like it is just a different operating model I'm using. And that's basically the difference between being someone who uses AI and being a person that builds with AI as well. So I'm going to show you the framework. Here's the structure to get a clean instruction set from AI, where you don't just say, write me a prompt, as we all do normally. But this time around, if you have covered the previous videos, you know that you are not meant to even do that at all. So instead, you give it a brief. And this brief should have about 4 parts for every meta prompt, and this is what it is. It's going to contain the context, and that is what the business or system, what you are trying to build this for. And an example I used here is, let me use this particular one, input all this text here, where I said, I'm building an automated customer support bot for a SaaS company that sells project management software. And customers range from solo freelancers to 50-person agencies. That is for the context. I'm giving it enough information for it to understand what this build is going to be for, what this business is about, the whole system, and what reason I'm trying to build it for. So the other one I'm going to give it is, the second one basically is the variables, and that is what data will the bot actually see. Now, an example here is their customer emails, account history, subscription tiers, and the last login late, just various variables that's going to receive as inputs every single time. So the other one, which is the third one, is what I call the decision logic. And this is when the AI asks you that, what are the rules? And if you remember D4, this is where D4 connects directly here, which is where I said if the customer, for example, if the customer is on a pro plan, is going to report a bug. That means whatever we have worked on at that moment is going to report a bug, mark priority, and we have to respond. This is in a case where we are using a support bot, right? It's going to respond between 1 hour. If the person is not on a pro plan, it can respond like probably they're on a free plan, it can respond after 24 hours instead. So when you use this if-then structure that I explained in the previous class, that's day 4. So if you have not watched that, you can actually check on that because it's really going to help you. One of the reasons why it will be best for you to not skip any day is we make use of every single day. We are building from the foundation layer. So you need to always confirm that you are checking that. So if you're on free plan, it's going to respond between 24 hours. And if the customer mentions a refund, it's going to escalate it to an human agent. If the question is in our FAQ, it's going to reply with the FAQ answer plus a follow-up offer to help them as well. This is for a support bot, so you can try for sales qualifier, you can try for the content writer as well. All these are just different inbuilt prompts that are already added there, so you can try them out. And the fourth one, which is the last one, is the formatting command. And this is more like how should the final prompt be written, how should the final instruction be written. An example I have here is write the final prompt as a creative brief, voice, audience, hook style, what to avoid, and include 3 viral post examples as reference pattern. Basically, what I added here is just, I made it more like a context, a variable, a logic, and a format. This is going to be the format is going to give me back. This is going to be the output, the way it gives me back. So that's the whole brief. When you give the AI these 4 things, you are going to notice that it doesn't have to guess. It just writes a prompt for you that is even better than what you could have written by hand because it is not blinded by your own expertise. If you remember earlier when I mentioned about expert blindness, this is one of the things that even I have fallen victim of multiple times, where I believe I have some information I know with me. So if I get something from AI, I'll just have to replace it with what I know. But at the first stance, the best thing to do is to ensure the AI gives you a better prompt while assuming it knows the role it's going to attend to. So you know what? To make this thing better, I told you to build this prompt for me. So you can interact with this as well. Since I'm giving you access to interact with this, you can surely do that and copy this prompt. So what I'm going to explain next now, or what I'll do rather this time around is, I'm going to use an example, more like a live demo, where I show you how to work on a messy idea. Basically the kind of way we used to type if we're not thinking about structure in the first place. So I'm going to show you how that works. And I'm also going to show you the non-messy version, a better version, where you get to see how this works. So I have an example here where I told the AI, I said, I want a bot that looks at customer reviews and tells me whether the customer is happy or not. If they are unhappy, I want to know why. The bot should follow my company tone, be friendly but direct. So that is what I'm going to give it here. Alright, so the best thing I'm going to do here now, I'm going to duplicate this. Once again, I'm using Gemini and it has access to the existing chat I have. So it might probably give me something better. It might give me something better than expected. So I'm going to use an AI that doesn't have access to any prompts or anything I've written right from the beginning, which is Chatgpt. I've not logged in, so it's not going to be influenced by anything I've done in the past. Alright, so I'm going to give it that for this. I'm going to copy what I've written here before. I'm going to copy this and use it here. Alright, so let's send it. Alright, so we can see here, this is the messy version. It is not a prompt. It is just like, a wish. Because if I look at the way I said it here, it's the way it started. It's more like this is the same way every other person is going to do. Put this, okay. So we have, you can see it's just a lot. This is not a prompt. It's not a prompt. It is more like a wish, but that's all I have to start with, and that is all most people ever have. Now watch what happens when I add the meta command on top. So I have the meta command prepared here already. So I have it here. Since this is a messy idea, you can see there are a lot of things we don't need here. So what I said here in this beta version is, I told you to take that messy idea above and turn it into a high-level system instruction for a specialized AI agent. So the instruction I added here is I told it to use a structure. You should structure it with the first one, a clear role definition, the second one, a defined task, the third one is the if-then conditional logic for handling different review types. So the other one I also gave it is the negative constraints to avoid corporate language, and I also told it to make it raw, specific, and ready to drop into a system. And the length should be about half a page. So let's see how this runs. All right. So you can look at these outputs. It is more like a clean system instruction. The role defined, the logic is even structured, the conditions are into branches, and it has the constraints listed at the bottom as well. So this is more like this is a prompt that took me 30 seconds to brief, and on a norms this would have taken me about 30 minutes to write by hand. So if we look at this, we can consider this a leverage, because we went from typing every word of instruction to describing the goal and letting the machine assemble the rest by itself. Now, with all this I've put together, I want to give you one more layer, and that is the layer which I call this layer the recursive logic. I call this layer the recursive logic, and that is the self-correction loop. Now, I want to give you this layer because basically here is how it works. You don't take the first version of the meta prompt output and use it forever. You feed the results back in and let the AI improve on its own work by itself. That's why I called it the self-correction loop. So the flow looks like this. The first one is you generate the prompt with the meta brief. The second one, you test it against a real scenario. And the third one is when it falls short, anywhere it falls short, you paste the field output back and tell the AI something like the bot missed rule number 3. So rewrite the system instruction to make the 3 impossible to miss. And that's where we have what? We have a better one. So the fourth one, the AI actually returns version 2.0, sharper than anything we could have written manually. And that is where the feedback loop is more like is where the core of every advanced AI system is, because it is more like it is how systems get better over time without you rewriting them from scratch every single time. And it's more like it is a bridge into something that we're going to cover later in the series, where that is in the agentic AI series, where the bot eventually starts writing and improving its own instructions without even you going through the loop at all. So, but for now, I want you to just remember the loop. It's going to generate, it's going to test, and it's going to critique, then regenerate again. And this works best because in situations where we have this was in Gemini before, but it's no longer here. It's now in Claude instead, where you can edit what you wrote initially. You can edit it and rewrite it once again. So it doesn't exist in Chatgpt as well, and it doesn't exist here. I doubt it exists here still. So, but it's still what? You can go through that same process using Claude, because you can always go back and change. You can take the response it gave you and take it back and input it in your previous prompt, tell it to reiterate and make it better. So it's going to generate, test, critique, and regenerate again. So every loop that you go through with this makes the system tighter. All right, so let's take a second back now. We just finished the whole layer 1, because honestly, in the first place, it's not that much. 5 days ago, most of you were probably typing one-line prompts into ChatGPT and hoping for the best. But now you have a full foundation, which I'm going to go over again. The first day, we learned how the brain actually works and how to give it real instructions. In the day 2, we learned how to ground it so it stops making things up, it stops hallucinating. And in day 3, we learned where to point it so the work actually pays. That is, we picking a niche or an industry to focus on rather than being a generalist. We're going to be specialized into one particular aspect, giving one solution to solving one problem. So on the day 4, that's the video before this, we taught it how to make real decisions by itself. Today, in day 5, you've just learned how to make it write its own instruction. So with this, we can say the brain is done. So tomorrow, every single thing we've been explaining about prompting, we're going to leave it for good, and we're going to start building the pipes. That is where we start using make.com, anything, Zapier. We start using this to build real automations and systems that run even while we sleep. But I'm going to be honest with you. Layer 2 is actually going to feel easier than layer 1, because layer 2 is more like the technical part of automation, and that is just about clicking and connecting things together. Because the real difficulty was us learning how to think clearly enough to write instructions a machine will actually follow. But I'm not going to teach you, just make.com, right, starting from the layer 2 now. I'm more like going to walk you through how you are going to use this system, how you are going to use these automations, you're going to build these things to even get your first $1,000 client. And now you're also going to use this playbook for the next 30 days. So, layer 1 was about thinking clearly, while layer 2 is about building. Before I let you go, I want to leave you with a final task, so we can just close this whole entire thing about layer 1. I want you to imagine you had to hire a stranger today to just do one part of your job, not your whole job, just one repetitive task that you undo every week. And I want you to, can you write, or like just, could you write a one-page manual that would let them do that particular task without messing it up? If you can do something like this, I can say yes, you are ready for layer 2. But if you can't yet, that is where this meta prompt comes in. So tonight, I just want you to take a task, open Claude or Chatgpt or Gemini, and use that 4-part brief that I've explained to you. You use this 4-part brief. This one I've shown you, you use it to get the context, the variables, the logic, and the format, and ask AI to generate that one-page manual for the task. So the first thing you have to do is just, if you have that task that is repetitive and you do this like every week or probably every day, just bring that out, write a manual about it, write every single detail you can remember about that particular task. Write everything down in a document, probably using Google Doc or a PDF or a notepad. Just write it somewhere, write it, and or more like type it rather, and you will write it. Then you are now going to bring out this 4 parts framework, where you use the context, the variable, the logic, and the formats. You ask AI to generate the one-page manual for that particular task. So when you do this, you are going to see exactly where the holes are in your own thinking, and you are also going to see what you have been forgetting to mention every single time. You also see what you've been assuming all this while. That manual is more like a foundation for the first automation we're going to build tomorrow. So I want you to just bring it along with you. I want you to bring it along with you, because that's what we're going to use to start building things that we want. And one more thing before I go. Anthropic, the team behind Claude, built a tool called Prompt Generator right inside their console. It's a meta prompt tool as well, made by the people who built the AI itself. And you can describe a task in plain English. It generates a structured professional prompt using the same technique I just showed you. You know what? Let me just show you how and where you can find that. All right, so I noticed the prompt tool is currently faulty at the moment. So rather than this, we could always use other tools to work in this place. So we could get ChatGPT's prompt tool. You could just search for ChatGPT prompt optimizer. So when we see this, we can access it here and you'll be able to use this. It's also more like a meta prompt tool, and it's made by the same people who started AI generally. So you are going to describe a task in plain English. It's going to generate the structured professional prompt using the same technique I just showed you. So if you want to see how experts use this, there are other tools out there, and you can try everything tonight, use it to generate this, and it is free. The one for even Claude, the one for Anthropic, for ChatGPT are both free. So you can try it with any account. So I'm going to attach this one in the link below, and there, see you in day 6.